Go Bears.
We got it?
Go Bears, yep.
Here we are. We're going to have a deep dive in this episode about the anti-vaxxing world, and Jeremy's going to lead it away. No.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
I'm
not that.
I don't even know if we should say the words, because Apple Podcasts, I don't know if you guys know this.
We're probably flagged.
Apple Podcasts actually, you can search in the audio of a podcast. It transcribes, I think, everything that goes on to it, which is really handy in some ways. But that also obviously makes it like they kind of know what's being talked about in every episode. We're gonna get tanked. Our analytics are just gonna.
It was that whole thing where they want you to be able to search by like topics.
Yeah.
And like
So we should use every word we want people to like associate with us, but also just to get the engines up.
Sports,
Bears,
Jesus.
Buckeyes,
football,
college football playoff,
money, wealth building,
cake,
success, motivation, inspo.
we need some motivation things.
Cake.
Yeah.
Be a better you.
Be a better you.
Positive vibes.
Tribes.
Fire movement.
Fire movement? What is that?
I read an article the other day, like fire movement is dead. And I'm like, that's hilarious because it really was not that big.
What is the fire movement? Am I missing something?
Oh, you never heard about that?
No. Andrew,
We should
do you know
probably
what
do
this
the
is?
intro first, David.
No, we're already into it.
Okay. Fire. Financial independence, retire early movement. Basically, you save a crap ton early on so you can retire like at 30 or 40. But I'm like, by the time this came out, everyone reading it's like 45 or 50. So,
isn't that just like, anybody would have that goal if they could.
I would like to have
basically, you have
financial
to like
independence.
embrace minimalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But they basically
that's
said
not
like
some
COVID
crazy
killed it.
exciting thing. It's like, if I could save that much, and that'd be a good thing.
Basically, it comes down to like you don't do anything and you don't get married or have kids until you're like you're already retired. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm already outside of this. I got 2 of them, so
yeah.
I'm already past the window.
You're like basically backwards. Yeah.
I'd have to go back in time, which I don't want to. My kids are great. My wife's great.
I've never heard of that before.
You never heard of that?
It must not be a big Instagram inspo
Dude,
movement.
no, it is. I can't believe you haven't heard of it.
I've really never heard of it before.
Yeah, I've
man.
never heard of it either.
Oh, man.
I think you made it
I'm just
up.
in different podcast circles than you.
Is that like what podcast circle are you in?
The guy was on like, he was on The Art of Manliness. He was on like this Dad Edge podcast I listened to, and like a financial podcast I listened to, and a few others.
Jeremy listens to financial podcasts, everybody.
Dude, I try to listen to everything.
He's diversified in his podcasting.
I listen to lots of different podcasts, just not ours.
I'm not really diversified at all.
Yeah, I'm not at all. My podcasts are almost exclusively, this time of year, they're almost exclusively football related.
Mine is like sports theology.
Yeah,
Guys, speaking of which, the Bears are losing right now.
well, it's good that sentence is applicable no matter what time people might listen to this.
It's still a timeless podcast, so it'll still work out. Because at that point, they'll probably be losing again.
We're recording on a Monday night where the Bears are playing. So
Another applicable topic would be, or a statement would be, that the Bears have scored probably less than 10 points or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be right most of the time.
So what are we talking about tonight?
You don't know what ghetto style means right now.
Well, first of all, this is episode 47. So welcome in, because we are 4 minutes in to this
I'm
episode.
surprised we made it this long into 47 episodes. I really thought that like this would have fizzled out at like earlier.
Let's stop
It's
at 50.
pretty easy when we're just talking. So
That's true.
Yeah. Maybe we'll stop at 50. Who knows? We're closing in.
You never know.
Yeah, it is episode 47, Three Brothers Talking. I am David.
I'm Andrew.
I am Jeremy.
And we didn't forget how to do that. It has been a little while since we recorded because Andrew had the end of his soccer season, and they still, both Andrew and Jeremy, have like 2 kids. You know, so that's
we still have those.
And
we still definitely have 2.
We haven't had any more yet.
Yeah.
And you guys haven't had any new ones. And my life's been busy with my church roles and everything, and life's just been a little crazy. So yeah. So we haven't recorded as much as of late, and Jeremy and I hopefully will keep this book club going, and I think we'll do some of that.
We have to do that. So, Maddie, I've been told that I'm not supposed to let Maddie wake up early anymore, so I should be able to make some stuff happen in the morning.
Okay.
If you're in a record like at 4:30, we can make that happen.
Maybe. No, I don't think so. But anyway, this is episode 47. We already, I guess the intro there was boosting our analytics a little bit, you know.
We boosted all of our analytics. We're so boosted right now.
All kinds of people. That's some SEO, some search engine optimization we just did. We probably got all kinds of new people listening because of those first 4 minutes, you know. Oh,
hey, can we talk about football for a second?
Really quick.
Okay, the Michigan sucks. That's all I'm going to say.
That's a good piece of news for this year of 2020.
Yep.
It's 2020 and Michigan still sucks.
Man, I watched that last primetime game. Like that team just is not good.
Yeah.
They're trash.
A lot of things have turned upside down this year, but 2020 in Michigan is still horrible, which is good.
Yeah.
That's comforting.
How does Jim Harbaugh still have a job there?
Well, here's my question is I'm trying to think what other things have remained the same for us this year. And I think
we're still friends.
That's true. We have the treasure of friendship no matter what.
Jesus is still here. He's still an authority. As we discussed in our other podcast.
That's right. That's our other podcast. Which is part of this podcast. But
it's a podcast and a podcast.
Jeremy, last time we had a full episode, we talked about Maddie was moving to her own room.
Yeah, she decided she didn't want to sleep in her room, and I graciously obliged.
She said that to you? Yeah.
She was like, Dad, Mom, I'm ready to move out in my own room. So, yeah, that took a few more days afterward because we ended up installing a few security cameras, and I installed a deadbolt in the front just because we needed some more stuff around the house and stuff anyway. Right. Safety first.
Jeremy got his bunker figured out.
Well, the way our house is laid out, Maddie's room is like in the front closest to the door.
Yeah.
So it just made my wife feel better. And I agreed 100%. Like I wanted a few other things and she thought about a camera. So we did the camera and what I wanted.
Jeremy wants to install a moat or something.
I want a turret just outside my daughter's room.
And a cannon.
Some barricades.
A freaking cannon lined up.
Hey man, I've looked into moats. I can dig a hole. I've dug lots of holes in my life.
You basically had a moat whenever we took your pool out of your backyard. You basically
I know, right? It just was on the wrong end.
Yeah, we shouldn't have filled it in. That was the beginning of the moat.
Took the pool in the front yard.
All you needed was to buy an alligator.
No, she's doing good in her room though. Like in all, she's good. It's good. It's nice having our own space again.
Yeah.
We'll see how long this lasts. Last time that lasted like not very long. So
yeah. Yeah. You guys are still, I don't know. I think you're facing calmer waters with child number 2 in the sleep department still, even after moving to their own room.
Yeah. Even after like a regression, she's a better sleeper overall. She had some issues with naps, but overall still better.
There you go.
Mike is great now, though. I can go in and say, "Hey, it's time to go to bed," and he'll go back to bed for the most part.
Now you're talking.
He's still a 2-year-old, and I say that.
What a kid.
I say that, and tomorrow's going to be up and not do that. But
Andrew is Lincoln like that? Is he like it's time? I actually no.
If it's like bedtime has become quite a chore, where like he definitely one of his favorite words now is no.
Oh yeah.
So like we're like, get ready for bed, and he will literally just scream in your face, no, and like and then like you're saying lay down, and he'll lay down and he'll pop right back up, and he'll try to like he literally like is doing juke moves to get around me and like get out the door. And like try to get out towards like the loft is like his playroom.
It's a freedom
stuff like that. Yeah. So he makes it a challenge, and he thinks it's like a game of like, I'm chasing him and I'm trying to get him to lay down, and he's laughing and all that while it's happening. So yeah.
Yeah. It's hard not to laugh.
bedtime's a routine, but he definitely no is his new favorite word for mommy and daddy. Yeah.
Yep. Mike is at that point too. It's just the way it is right now.
Yeah.
He'll say it to me, he's like, no, and he'll go, stop it. And I'm like, you don't dare say that to me, kid.
Now you got to, now the discipline really starts in the home, man.
Yeah.
Now it really starts. So both of those young guys, well, as of recording, Micah isn't 2 yet, but he's really close.
2 days.
Yeah.
Right?
2 days. He'll be 2 on Thursday of this week.
And,
I guess we totally are not even worried about timeless podcasts.
Yeah. And but Andrew's kid just turned 2. And so they're 2 years into parenthood now, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
We'll do
They survived.
Maybe we'll do pretty soon here, we'll do a 2-year retrospective of parenting. You versus the man you were 2 years ago. How do you think you've changed?
How bad I was.
Yeah, exactly. Tonight, though, we are today. Well, tonight we're talking about this, and then today, as in the day that you're listening to it, whenever that is, we're talking about kind of the urge we can have in us to just constantly be entertained. That is the topic on the table. And I guess I'll kick it off because I think I had the idea. This started for me, I think a few years ago when I was talking with a friend and I was kind of just going through a number of weeks and months where I was just feeling really tired and worn out and just kind of like generally angrier and not myself. And he just said, kind of going back to the podcast question earlier on, he's like, how much time do you spend just like listening to a podcast or watching something? Versus how much time do you spend like not having some kind of input into you in terms of entertainment? And I realized that I spent almost every waking moment of almost every single day with something on, or I was reading something, looking at something, listening to something, watching something, almost every single waking moment. And that was not good. And it's still not good. And this kind of popped back up into my life because Rachel and I were talking the other day and we realized how we were both getting ready for bed and we were both brushing our teeth in the mirror. We have like the 2 sinks in our bathroom so we can both sit there and do it at the same time. And we were both on our phones while we were doing that. Mm-hmm. And we put them down, I think, after we got done brushing our teeth. And Rachel just goes, why did we both do that? Like, why were we both in the same room? We hadn't really seen each other at all that day. And just the instinct was, I would think I was probably watching something on YouTube and she was, looking at Instagram or something like that. And we're like, why was that our reaction? Why was that what we do? And instead of talking to each other or just not talking at all, like, why did we feel the need to have something there? And so that's kind of why this popped back up into my mind, because that led Rachel and I, and I'll talk about this. I'll talk about this later, maybe after you guys jump in. But that led Rachel and I to kind of start thinking about kind of weeding some of that out of our lives. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Do you guys kind of feel like you notice that sort of phenomenon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeremy, unless you want to jump in. I mean, my first thought is just the reasoning behind why that happens. Because it happens in our household too. And I think it just comes down to, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easier than possibly, be kind of like, I guess, being still or even investing in, the face-to-face interaction or connection or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, especially, I think in me and Kaylee's context, we get to like, it happens quite a bit where the whole day she's doing her work, I'm doing my work. The end of the day, we're picking up kids, we're facilitating dinner time, we're facilitating playtime, we're getting everything prepared for the next day's routine and all that. And then we finally get them all to bed. And then, once they get them to bed and it's time for us to finally sit down and have a break, it's just easier to flip out the phone versus me making the effort to turn and invest in, how she's feeling and what's going on in her world, because I've been invested in my work and I've been invested then in Lincoln and Addison all day. So that's where my first thought is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just like, and same thing with like a football game or whatever it is, like whatever I'm going to pop on the TV is just kind of an easy out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to say football game, didn't you, Andrew? Nah, I think that's something that Faith and I have tried to do. This week's been kind of rough just because it's been kind of a lot going on.
It's only Monday, Jeremy.
Well, yeah, it's been a continuation from last week. We didn't really.
Sometimes your weekend is completely non-existent.
Yeah,
that was for me today. My work is back in the office right now. I know it's crazy. So is Jeremy's, but I was
Mine was never out of the office.
Yeah, I was driving in the office this morning, and I was like, I would have I could swear that I was here. I don't even remember the weekend at all.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, goodness,
that happens.
Yeah.
Well, that's something we've tried to be a little more. I know I've tried to be a little more. Even getting down to okay, date night. We're not gonna even try not to talk about kids, which I know everyone says we should do, but you sit there and say, okay, we have to, as a guy, which I'm not great at, I've gotten better at because I think I let things slip because of pragmatism. It's easier, like Andrew said, to slip up a phone versus talk, or even flip on a Kindle or read a book, which are good things, but can easily just lead to avoidance as being a default. But even sitting down the things that we can do is okay, we're going to still make sure even after a long day, even if we're both exhausted, we both just want to watch TV. That's okay on occasion. But making sure we still say, okay, we're going to pray together at the end of the night, trying to get back into that thing. Cause at least it's some kind of, we're doing something together for our family and to glorify God and to grow together still. Even if it's only a 5-minute thing, that's all we have time for. And we're both mentally drained and we need time to veg. Finding ways to do that. And so it's something I don't know. I feel like last week I did better at it, and this week is not as good. And I say that on a Monday.
Again.
So we'll say 2 weeks ago I did better at it, and then last week was not as good.
Jeremy's a harsh grader. It's the first day. It's his whole week sucks, all right?
I am a harsh grader. Faith can attest to that. But
at least let yourself have 2 days in the week before you characterize the entire week.
Dude, it's the Enneagram 1 in there. They're with the Enneagram in the metric.
As an Enneagram 8, I don't know. Who knows?
But
who knows? It's
trying to get those things,
as Michael Scott would say.
I think one of the big things is just not keeping your phone. That's one thing I actually finally got with Maddie being out of the room. I can actually use my normal alarm clock, so I can keep my phone semi further away, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I think
because I'm not tempted to grab it as much.
Yeah, I think I've noticed. Rachel and I when we started talking about it, I think we noticed how you have an ability to let entertainment kind of soak up all these little moments of these little opportunities for connection you have with your spouse throughout the day. Because if there was no audio or something going on, then maybe you would, talk to your spouse in the situation. But because you've got something you're listening to or reading or something, you just walk right by them instead. You don't talk to them, things like that. You don't recognize, you don't feel like you're not paying attention to building that relationship because you've got other things that you're occupying your mind with. but setting those things aside and having nothing going on for a second, it actually kind of opens the door for these opportunities to talk together. And often, like you guys said, that's not as easy as just being entertained, but it does something so much better. Like I think in the last few weeks, even Rachel and I have been more intentional about this, and we've had so many better and more fun, conversations that I come away from feeling like that was great. Like I just talked with my wife, and it wasn't about anything. Maybe we were just talking and just being friends, like we were just being people together, and it also, obviously, having more time for that enables you to level about more serious things as well together, and work through those. But even from the more like sincere and deep topics to the even more like fun joking around time together, entertainment can just kind of soak up all that stuff and not really allow you to have it. Yeah. And I guess I'm feeling more convicted about that heading into this year of marriage. I guess I'm feeling more convicted about caring for my relationship with my wife, and that feels like it's part of it for me.
Yeah.
So
I think that's something that 2020 that I hope we all learn through everything is what relationships matter and what's most important. And fostering those rather than the things, I guess, aren't
like
as...
in the current situation, it should at least enable us all to take a realistic view of those immediate close relationships that are right around us, and the areas that we've possibly been neglecting a little bit.
Yeah.
So I mean, that could be one positive aspect.
That's right.
To this whole thing. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. I think I also pay attention to like the types of entertainment and everything. Like I try to make sure now that I'm not just getting constant news based entertainment, because that'll turn me into like an obsessive jerk pretty much, because I'll be worried about something, or I don't know. I just get consumed by it. And so that's something that that's something that being this year has definitely been a thing that thankfully Rachel has like pushed me on. She's like, listening to this or that, paying attention to this or that. She reminds me all the time, like, that's not doing anything. Like, you're paying attention, you're giving your mind to it, it's stealing your focus, but you're not like, it's not accomplishing anything. It's not like, it's not even putting you in a better mood. It's like, it's kind of just killing you a little bit. And I guess for me, I have such a long ways to go before the danger of being inattentive to current events. I have a long ways to go before that's even a danger. And so this has been a long year of, even though there's plenty of news and things like that to feast on this year, this has been a year where I feel like God has in some ways helped me be a little less controlled by the news cycle and everything. And that's just been turning it off more. Like, it's just been, instead of paying too close attention to something, it's like I will read a book, or if Rachel's home, we will play a game, or we'll talk about something else. But the whole thing has been that having less entertainment and having a good, responsible limit to that enables me to have a better relationship with my wife. And it even in some ways allows me to have to get really like meta, to have a better relationship even with myself, and to recognize where my mood is at, to recognize where, my mental space is at day after day. because at least I think the way that it works is that constant input and everything just doesn't allow us to feel. Whenever we might other times we might notice or feel negative emotions, that constant entertainment kind of just is like keeping the beach ball of negative emotions under the water. And so we don't deal with anything, and we don't recognize anything, and it just gets worse. And that's just what we use entertainment for, right? Instead of,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's huge too, talking about kind of the distraction aspect of it too, of like, especially what it can allow and what it can foster between the relationship between you and your spouse, where like entertainment can come in and like maybe something that I did where I said something the wrong way, or I did not, I was not as attentive to Kaylee, and, she was really hurt in that situation. And maybe both of us that particular day, like she went off and she's, into her Instagram feed and I'm into my sports or whatever else. And those problems just get pushed aside.
Yeah.
And
you miss an opportunity to reconcile.
Yeah, and never get dealt with at all.
Yeah.
And that's something that's definitely become apparent that we do quite a bit, where it's just like, why couldn't we, especially little things like that. Like, why do those things just, they get pushed down underneath the waters, and then they're never talked about. They're never dealt with at all, because then we just move on to the next day and it's just brushed aside. Instead of getting better at the fact of reading how she is feeling and investing in, and how I can be a better servant to her, or vice versa, however it plays out. So.
Yeah. And it, just because you don't deal with it, it still leaves a little bit of a residue on the marriage, right? Like it still hangs around. I think we all know enough about marriage and about relationships with people, is that those things hang around. And that's really true though. Like, we miss an opportunity to overcome those and to reconcile together. Yeah. Because it's easier. We medicate with other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And we know like the little things aren't, maybe in our minds, we play it out as like, oh, that's not big enough to really cause a fight or to, like bring up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's also a sense where we can get closer, and we can be ever evolving and even more better at communicating if the entertainment is put to its limits a little bit.
Yeah. Jeremy, you might even say that we use it to vaccinate ourselves against things.
I got that video from a coworker, by the way.
I just triggered Jeremy.
You get a kick out of it.
Jeremy today, I said before we started recording that Jeremy had sent me this crazy anti-vax video.
It's a hardcore I agreed 100%.
I was saying it was robots inside your body and stuff. And I was like, man, this person is really convinced that technology is farther along than I think it is. But for the first part of it, I honestly thought Jeremy might believe it for a second, and I was really concerned. But we're good.
I texted you and said if I was of a different eschatological persuasion, I would probably be really more freaked out in 2020 than I am.
Oh yeah, man. Being like all millennials, pretty great. So, or post,
or even just normal pre-mill at this point.
Yeah, just non-dispensational.
pre-mill. Yeah,
just non-left behind. That's
just non re-raptured.
And if Tim LaHaye, Mr. LaHaye, Timmy, TLH, as we call him, as he asks us to call him because we're friends. If you're listening, and I know that you are, don't be mad, and we still will accept something as you can sponsor our podcast.
Do you think he would listen?
What if we got? Oh, I'm sure he listens. What if we got?
I'm sure he does.
Tim LaHaye and what was his name? Michael Jenkins, right? Michael Jenkins was the other guy.
I don't know. I think Michael Jenkins is a cornerback who used to play for Ohio State, but okay. Or is that
That's Malcolm Jenkins. I think it's Michael Jenkins. I think he was the guy who wrote
Michael
Left
Jenkins
Behind.
was a wide receiver. Go Bucks.
Yeah. I'm... Jerry.
No, what?
I was
Yeah.
close. Sorry, yeah. Jerry, his name was Jerry B. Jenkins.
Whose name was Jerry B. Jenkins?
He's the co-author of Left Behind.
Oh,
Tim
he is?
LaHaye, yeah, Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins. Jerry B. Jenkins.
What are they doing now?
Sitting back on piles of money. I don't know.
They're like nailed it.
Yeah, who knows? They
They
probably
hit Christian fiction at the right time there.
They really did. Jerry B. Jenkins sounds like a comic book character to me. He doesn't sound like a real human being would have that name. But
Maybe it isn't his real name.
it's his.
I can't
it's
believe
his
making
pen-
fun of someone's
that's
name
his
on our
pen-
podcast,
That's his
David.
pen name. That's his pseudonym.
Where are we going with this?
I don't know.
I don't know. What is the most famous person you think that listens to our podcast? Let's just pretend.
The most famous person. Listen. Oh. Well,
Like, if you could get one famous person, who would you want to listen to the podcast?
well, that's a different question altogether.
Well, you can answer both, I guess.
He just asked completely.
All right, who do you think?
I know for certain that like Zach from Gut Check has and does listen, at least on occasion.
Zachy B?
Although he like disclaimed it with me one time and said, so I tend to listen to podcasts by like not subscribing every week, but by like binging on a whole lot of episodes and then dropping the podcast for a while and like waiting a few months and picking it back up.
That makes me happy.
Well, that makes me happy because
so is
we
he
only
saying that he binged us.
he has done that.
So-
Yeah.
Does he know that
Yeah.
if we could do anything, if we could have a gut check and
It
Two Brothers
would-
Talking live event, that'd be like the best thing in my life.
It would be one of the best things in my life. So
I just want to do one with Ted Cluck and Zachy B. So let's just make it happen.
I'd like to do a live dramatic reading of their rapture novel for sure.
Maybe we could write a book and we could read their book and they could read our book.
Yeah, let's get on that. So
I'm going to write a book tonight.
I don't know who the most famous person would be. He is a published
Probably
author.
Zach Bartles.
So we have published authors that listen to our podcast. So we'll leave it at
We
that.
really need to up our content.
No, I think that's fine. I mean, How
Well,
can
I
you
don't
get?
know. We
How
have
can
some-
you get more famous than a published author? That's like the
we
pinnacle.
have some pretty good information. We've talked about the fire movement and we've talked about science. We've talked about
Nobody's
football.
heard of.
Yeah, the leader of the fire movement's going to listen this week. I'm sure that that'll really bump our numbers up.
We just need to add like Dave Ramsey in there and Enneagram and we're all covered.
Hey, dude, if Dave Ramsey listens to the podcast, we'll definitely take a sponsorship. We'll definitely take a partnership.
Baby
there.
steps.
Yeah, baby steps to get to Dave Ramsey listening. Wouldn't it be absolutely
What do you
insane?
call it? The Dave Ramsey snowball.
That's right. The podcast.
So we're going to
snowball.
start small.
That's right.
So we're going to start, we'll get Barnabas Piper and then his wife works for Dave Ramsey.
I see.
So then
Smart.
there you go. So we start with
Brilliant.
Piper and small potatoes.
Well, all right. So we have Zach. Zach knows Ted. Ted co-hosts with
I just want to meet Ted.
Ted
and I'd be
co-hosts
happy.
with Barnabas on a different podcast, and then we get Barnabas's new wife, and she connects us to Dave Ramsey.
And we already know Ronnie Martin, so we already have that one
Guys,
covered.
we're basically there. Wouldn't it be crazy though if
We're basically like the Marvel universe.
Wouldn't it be insane though if we actually like, I don't know who it would be. Maybe like, for some reason we just say like, who's like a big,
Mark Driscoll.
like one that I want to listen. Like
Okay.
who's a huge, like, well, we were just talking about, I don't know, like Mark Dever one
Doug
day.
Wilson?
Or like,
Marky D.
or like, Mark Dever, like Matt Chandler, one of the main stagers, one of the A-listers. And, we
My
just
guy Body Bach.
voting. Well, that'd be one. There's the gold standard.
Yeah.
But we just like say
Dude,
their
we gotta
name.
get him on the pod. That'd be
And
fun.
then like a week after the episode comes out, like just randomly, they just tweet at us and say, "Hey, love the episode." And it's just like,
Yeah.
Name it and claim it, man.
there's a good
I'd be like, all right,
name and
guys,
claim
wrap
it.
it up.
yeah,
We're done.
that's a good surprise. I wouldn't have expected that.
We started this podcast like we started young adult group so we could all get married.
Yeah. What?
What?
Well, my wife and I have that inside joke. Faith has an inside joke that we started a young adult group so we would all get married.
Oh, so
Jeremy, you're the only one that got married through young adult group.
And,
yeah, I know. So that's why.
And you're the only one who understands the connection.
Yeah.
Like, you're right there.
Yeah.
Is it?
We're already here
Let
now.
me take a guess at the connection. Let me try to understand it. Was it because you're saying that if we got them to listen, it would be like our only goal in starting the podcast was to get Vody Bacham to know us?
Yeah, that's what the connection was. It was very loose.
All right. We're all there. We made it. And I can just tell we're out of practice. You know?
Yeah.
It's been a while. The Bears just scored a touchdown, so.
Dude, it has been a while. And I'm going to put this whole thing out of its misery.
Yeah.
Jerry B.
I think
Jenkins.
it's just getting good.
No, it's really not. Jerry, hey, all right. Well, we'll sign off with this. Jerry B. Jenkins. If you're looking for an interview spot, we'll interview you. Talk about your novels from 3 decades ago.
Did you read any of those books while we're on it?
I think I read one Left Behind book.
I think I read the first one. I tried to do the second one. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
After the first one, I mean, the story's already told pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Like
I know at that point.
You've
I'm
been
like, I'm
left.
out of the picture. I'm done.
You're already left.
You read that one and you're
Chapter
like,
one.
well, I won't be here for the rest
You
of them.
have been left.
At that point, you're like, yeah, I won't be around for the sequels, so I don't really care. I think I only read one of them. It probably almost like gave me nightmares as a kid that I would get left behind.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's
That
what
was
they
their
did. That's
goal,
what
I'm
it's supposed
sure.
to do,
That's
I think.
That's why they wrote them.
them.
Scare the kids
All right.
into Jesus.
All right. Well, we're off the rails. And
Totally
whatever,
awesome.
whatever other metaphor you want to use here. And it is time that we sign off. So we will be back soon, whenever soon means.
What are you
for
doing,
the next
Recos?
episode. I don't know if we deserve it, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I had one.
All right.
I guess our reco is put down your phone.
Yeah. Stop listening to this podcast. Go talk to somebody.
Turn it off
Go
now.
talk to your wife.
Yeah. We kind of shot ourselves in the foot there, didn't we? A
We
bunch
might
of
have
people,
lost all of our listeners.
a bunch of people unsubscribe and be like, "Hey, they gave me great advice." Yeah.
I hope we're not the last podcast they listen to because it just makes me feel bad.
No, I mean, if they're not going to listen to any of them ever again, then I feel good about it.
Yeah, we did our job.
Yeah, that's fine. As long as this isn't the last time they listen to ours.
No, we're the only ones that matter.
Exactly. Jeremy, what's your reco?
No, I was going to say that if you have Amazon Prime or just in general, there's a George Mueller documentary that's pretty darn good. So
What's it called?
George Mueller, I think it's Robber of the Cold Streets. I think that's what it's called.
Robber of the Cold Streets.
Something like that.
That right there is
It's a heck of a title.
that's the
That's the
title.
title.
Yeah, my goodness.
Yeah.
Our
I mean,
podcast needs a cool title
really
like
kicked
that.
one around for a while.
Three brothers
Yeah.
talking.
I'm telling you what.
The robber of the podcast
need,
streets.
If there's one thing I'm like, man, reading biographies about people like this or people like George Mueller or documentaries on Spurgeon or something like that, like we need to read some more about these kind of guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you haven't.
All right.
That's
well,
it.
this is
That's
Three
my
Brothers
reco.
Talking, the potters of the cold streets, as they call us. And as lame as that joke I just made was, I still think it beats the one that Jeremy made earlier. So we're going
Probably.
to out of here on that note. But it has been fun. No matter what else it's been, it has been fun. So until next time, we will see you guys next time.
We need a better sign off.
We don't need a better sign off because we don't deserve a better sign off.